Welcome back to Straight Facts by Dinar Investor.
Good morning and welcome back. Yesterday, Iraq's parliament completed the election law. That's the first real step or item that they've actually been able to complete in the way of reforms for the citizens due to the demonstrations. What they've done through the election law is it only pertains to their parliament. They've reduced the number of seats from 329 down to 213 seats within parliament. And they've reduced the age of the nominees down to 25. So overall, that's going to help the demonstrations and work to satisfy the demonstrators to a small extent. Again, this is just very small. I mean, they're calling this reforms. In a way, it's kind of sad, but this is the best, one of the best items that they've actually been able to offer the demonstrators. And you can clearly see their hands are tied and they are waiting on that rate change. So, and then obviously that's going to change the numbers and the math going in the budget forward because it's going to reduce the size of the parliament. So that's a budget reduction. And then if you notice, both Baghdad and Kurdistan put their talks and everything pertaining to the budget on hold because this is having a smaller parliamentary size going forward will change the math and the numbers within that 2020 budget. So obviously we don't know when the reduction of size will go into effect. It may, the current political process or current size of the parliament may stay into effect until the next round of elections, and then they may reduce it at the next round of elections. So we'll have to see on that going forward when the reduction of size goes into effect going forward. But as you see, it does change the math and the numbers within that budget. So that would explain why that both Kurdistan and Baghdad put their talks on hold for a period of time to resolve this. So, and then there is one article in this morning's news. There's an article that shows that both Kurdistan and Baghdad are going to resume their talks going forward. So we'll see if they're able to actually get the first reading of the budget done during the remainder of this year. So that's this morning's news. Here is the news for you guys. Have a great day.
A new election law to absorb the anger of Iraqis. November 11, 2019. Continued angry demonstrations in Iraq. Reuters. Source: Baghdad, Iraq. Ahmed. History: November 12, 2019. Since the beginning of a wave of protests in Iraq last month, the Iraqi government has been trying to absorb the anger of the demonstrators, wanting them at times by introducing initiatives and reform measures, and at other times intimidated by the threat of judicial sanctions and warn of a constitutional vacuum. The fate of the protesters is unknown, and if the demands of the protesters are left, but within a few days, in exchange for maintaining the presidency of Adel Abdul Mahdi, the government has been keen to turn a new page with the Iraqis to gain confidence. It announced the completion of a new election law, which would reduce the age of candidacy and reduce the number of members of parliament, as a parliamentary committee began its meetings to amend the country's constitution. Measures demanded by protesters in the country, while escalation continued in southern Iraq, where 3 people were killed during the demonstrations. Finished. He announced in Baghdad yesterday the completion of the preparation of a new election law, reducing the age of candidacy and reduce the number of members of parliament. As a parliamentary committee began its meetings to amend the constitution of the country, measures demanded by protesters in the country. Report this ad. An Iraqi source announced that a new draft law for general elections was sent to the House of Representatives for discussion and voting. The new electoral law provides for the formation of an independent high commission for elections, composed of judges and representatives of specialized sectors, away from partisan quotas, and give young people opportunities to run for elections. By reducing the age of candidacy to 25 years, in addition to the adoption of the highest winner system at the level of the constituency, and reduced number of members of the House of Representatives from 329 to 213. The draft law also provides for the reduction of the electoral district to the judiciary, after the province was one district, and the adoption of the system of the highest winner of the candidates, and the abolition of existing laws and proportional representation. For its part, held a parliamentary committee charged with amending the constitution, within 4 months, today, its first meetings, and elected parliamentarian Fali al-Sari, head of the bloc of the Wisdom Movement, headed by Ammar al-Hakim. Its chairman, The committee then began a meeting chaired by Deputy Speaker of the Council of Representatives, Bashir al-Haddad, representatives of trade unions and professional associations, as well as university professors, legal experts and constitutional writing specialists. Al-Haddad pointed out the importance of amending the Constitution in this sensitive situation, stressing the need to involve all spectrums and the contribution of experts and specialists, especially that the Iraqi Constitution is considered today of good constitutions in the world, but this does not prevent from reviewing from time to keep pace with development community. Close. Meanwhile, 3 Iraqis were killed and dozens were injured yesterday, while demonstrators closed 3 bridges in Dhikar province in southern Iraq. According to human rights sources in the province, the demonstrations in the city center were met with live fire from the security forces, led to the death of 3 people, and wounded dozens, which led to the demonstrators to close the bridges. Report this ad. A source in human rights in Iraq said that hundreds of demonstrators closed yesterday bridges Civilizations, Victory and Olives, in the center of Dhikar. According to the source, the suspension of the study and the strike of schools and the participation of students in the demonstrations in the province. Hadathi talks about a new election law. It will radically change the course of the political process. November 11, 2019. Politics November 11, 2019 1702 458 Editor. Baghdad Today. Special. Spokesman for the Prime Minister's Information Office Saad al-Hadathi said on Monday, November 11, 2019, that the government is keen to submit the draft amendment to the elections as soon as possible to Parliament. Al-Hadathi said in an interview to Baghdad Today, the government has no confirmed information that the draft law to amend the elections has been prepared by the specialized committees in the Secretariat and the State Council or not. He added that Abdul Mahdi directed the legal department of the Council of Ministers to present the draft before the State Consultative Council before sending it to Parliament to complete the legislative procedures. He explained that the law will bring drastic changes in the course of the electoral process and establish a new framework for the conduct of elections to ensure opportunities for broad participation of young people and independents in the electoral process. He pointed out that the new law will break the monopoly of the traditional political forces of the elections and open the doors for the new emerging forces to participate effectively and for persons nominated as individuals and independent in equality with political forces. The 3 presidencies held a meeting on Sunday to discuss the demands of the demonstrators, and confirmed the presidency in a statement that the presidents of the Republic and the government and Parliament announced the start of legislation and new election law. The draft electoral law, submitted by the presidency, to reduce the age of nomination to 25 years, and reduce the number of seats to 229 from 325, and the adoption of the judiciary as an electoral district rather than the province, and the candidate is not eligible to run more than one constituency, and change the current election commission to a commission composed of judges and independent academics. Erbil and Baghdad to resume budget talks. Envoy. Erbil, the Kurdistan Regional Government, KRG, and federal government of Iraq will resume negotiations on the 2020's budget bill in the coming days, said KRG envoy to Baghdad. Faris Issa told BAS News that delegations from both Erbil and Baghdad are ready to embark on a new round of talks on budget. He explained that the budget talks will be followed by separate negotiations on issues pertaining to census, Peshmerga affairs, and energy. Following the formation of the new cabinet for the KRG, Prime Minister Masroor Barzani formed committees to begin talks with Baghdad and urgently find solutions to the prolonged disputes between Erbil and Baghdad. The KRG has said repeatedly that the Erbil-Baghdad disputes should be resolved in accordance to the Iraqi constitution,